Are you looking to increase your credit score? You know what to do. Stay tuned. If we've never met before, I am Monique Vassell, and here on this channel, I empower individuals like you on how to acquire financial health, as well as give out tools and tips on how to live the lifestyle in which you desire. So if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button, as well as click that notification bell so you are notified each week when a video goes up. And if you're a returning fan, make yourself comfortable and let's do this. So what's up, beautiful people? Today we're talking about increasing your credit score. In one of our previous videos, we talked about how to pull your credit report. Well, when you pull your credit report, you also want to go ahead and pull your credit score. Your credit score determines your credit worthiness. What does that mean? Means that lenders are looking at your credit score to determine whether or not they want to lend you any money. And if they do decide to lend you some money, it also determines how much you're going to pay for that money. i.e., are you going to have a high interest rate when you're paying that back or a low interest rate when you're paying that back? Now here's a great chart that will show you the breakdown of your credit score. For this video, we are primarily looking at credit scores that are lower than 700. If you're at a 750 plus, you're in pretty good shape. I would say, however, if you're even at a 700, there's probably things that you can improve, and most of those things may just happen over time. However, if you are below 700, we have work to do. Your credit score is made up of 5 different categories. There's 35% that's made up of your payment history, 30% made up of the amounts owed, 15% made up of the length of credit history, 10% made up of your new credit, and 10% made up of your types of credit used. If you're not sure where to pull your credit score, you can pull your credit score from the 3 different credit bureaus: Transunion, Equifax, and Experian. You can also pull your credit report from different websites such as Credit Karma and myfico.com. Now, you will have to pay for this, so you may want to shop around a little bit just to make sure that you're not overpaying for something that you can get for a reasonable price. So if you've pulled your credit score and it is low, we'll just go with under 700. There's probably a couple different reasons why that stands. One reason would be that you don't have enough credit or you don't have a long enough credit history. You may not have any type of loans or any type of credit cards. This is fixable. Late payments. If you're not paying your bills on time, that is going to decrease your credit score. If you have any type of collections, bankruptcies, or foreclosures, be sure your credit score is not going to be looking too good right now. Let's say you do have credit card history, however, you've maxed out all of your credit cards. That is going to be a problem. If you have been applying for multiple credit cards and multiple loans, this is also impacting your credit score negatively because you're now acquiring hard inquiries, and that is going to also decrease your. So here we go. Step number 1. This is a potential way in which some people will be able to increase their score. This is called becoming an authorized user. As an authorized user, you now are authorized to use someone else's credit account. So basically, you are now connected to that person's line of credit. What also happens is that you end up taking on acquiring that person's credit history. So for example, in my family, as my daughter was going off to college, we put her as an authorized user on one of our credit cards. So as a result, she has a good start to her credit score because she has now obtained our credit score, as well as she is now an authorized user on our credit card, and she will now start to begin to accumulate credit history. So this is a really good opportunity for kids that are younger. However, you don't want them to actually open a credit card up in their name, but you still want them to begin to obtain that good credit history as well as a good start to a credit score. Now, if you're a parent and you don't have good credit, don't do that to your child. It ain't right, because you will give them your bad credit. So please only do this if you have good credit. And the child doesn't necessarily have to have the actual credit card. If they're not trustworthy, you may want to hold on to the credit card, or they can probably hold on to it for emergency purposes. That's totally up to you. But keep in mind, they do have access to this line of credit. This is also a great opportunity to boost perhaps a spouse's credit score. So if your spouse is trustworthy, you can make them an authorized user on your line of credit. Now keep in mind, I said this was great for teens, kids going off to college. You want them to begin to have a better credit score and also gain credit history. This is also great for spouses. Maybe you want to invest in some property, and so to make sure that you guys both have a great credit score. This is not for your boo, for your man, for your brother or sister that you cannot trust, or any friend out in the street, because people act funny when it comes to money, and they will have access to this credit account. And so if it is not a trustworthy person, you don't want to do it. If the other person does not have a good credit score, you don't want to do this. As a side note, you can purchase authorized trade lines, meaning become an authorized user on other people's credit cards out there. But keep in mind, the biggest thing is that there are a lot of scammers out there. That's number one. Number two, this would be a temporary boost if you did pay for this. And this service can cost you between $300 to a couple $1,000s. Also understand that underwriters are sophisticated now. And so if you're using an authorized trade line to boost your credit score, they can also tell that you're not the primary account holder. Therefore, the payment history that you have and the payment activity, as well as the available credit, that it's technically not yours. Even though your credit score may be higher, it doesn't necessarily equate to the fact that you'll get another loan that you may apply for based on the fact that you've used an authorized trade line just to boost your credit score. Another way to increase your credit score is to get more credit. If you are young and you just don't have credit, then you need to apply for credit. But please be wary and be strategic in when you apply for credit. Look at top tier banks. Do your research, because what you don't want to do is apply for 10 different types of credit cards and get denied. I personally am not a fan of store cards. They tend to get you in trouble if you're not disciplined enough, but it is a start. And if you're not having any luck with your research on regular credit cards, you may want to look into a secured credit card. It's also important that when you're applying for more credit that you get a variety of credit. So if you put in the mixture of having a car loan, a mortgage loan, credit cards, different types of loans, that also increases your credit score. It looks better to lenders as a whole in determining your credit worthiness. And lastly, with this step is know when to stop. You do not need 10 different credit cards to build your credit history. Another great step to use to increase your credit score is analyzing your credit card utilization. So what does that mean? It means that industry norms say that you should only be using about 10% of your credit card limit, or some people say 30%, but I would more so say that 30% is to maintain your credit score, 10% is to get it to a point where you can increase your credit score. So if you have $1,000 credit card, you really only want to use about $100 of that. So in order to look less risky to other lenders, you want to make sure that you're staying under 10% of your credit card usage. If you are an established credit card holder and you have utilized more than 10% or even more than 30% of your credit limit, you can also call up and ask for a credit increase. That'll make it seem as though you have utilized less of that debt. Now, if you know you can't trust yourself and you're about to call for that credit increase and you're about to spend it, don't even do it. No, don't do it. Don't even ask for it. That right there, that tip was for my disciplined folks. Okay, so here we are. Let's talk about it. Late payments. You ain't paying your bills. Why you ain't paying your bills? Okay. Keep in mind, newer late payments affect your credit score greater than older late payments. Items that you have as late payments on your credit report that are greater than 180 days will most likely be charged off and moved to collections. And you don't want that. So if you have newer late payments, my biggest suggestion is to call the company. Because honestly, companies don't really want to write off their debt. They want their money, okay? They lose out if they have to charge off your debt. Contact the company. Ask them if they can waive any late fees. Ask them if you can renegotiate any of your payment terms. Like I said, they prefer to collect the money from you. It's better for you to get those late payments removed from your credit report rather than them being charged off or going to collection. If you have late payments on your credit report that are not actually your late payments, or maybe the company reported that inaccurately, dispute those items with the credit bureau, because the burden of proof is on the credit bureau and on that company. Collections. Now you really didn't pay your bills. Collections stay on your credit report for approximately 7 years. Each state has a statute of limitations in which even debt collectors out there, really they can't do anything to you after a certain amount of time. For example, in the state of Georgia, Massachusetts, New York, statute of limitations is approximately 6 years. But even with that being said, what can you do regarding collection? Number one, dispute all inaccuracies. If there's anything on your credit report that is inaccurate regarding collections, dispute them. Again, the burden of proof is on the collections agency. If they can't prove it, then they have to remove it. If you decide to settle a debt with a collection agency, make sure that you do it in a proper way. Don't just settle that debt. Number one, negotiate. They did not purchase that debt at the full amount that you owed, so most likely they will settle with you for a lower amount. Number two, when you do settle, ask for a settle and deletion letter, meaning ask them to provide a letter that agrees on the amount you settled for, as well as ask them to have the debt removed from your credit report. So like I said, don't just ask to settle, because settling the debt will just say that the debt was paid in full or paid as agreed, but it won't be removed off of your credit report. In order to increase your score, you want them to agree to settle and delete. And also, when and if you do decide to settle with them, try to use a money order or a prepaid debit card. Don't trust them, because if you give them, say, your debit card or your bank account information, collection agencies are grimy, okay? They will go back and go into your account if need be. Don't trust them. Them a thief. This is something that's very important. If you cannot afford to settle with them, don't even make the phone call, because you might be waking a sleeping giant, okay? If you cannot afford to at least make a settlement payment or even pay the balance in full, don't call them, because once you call them, they're gonna come after you, and they have all right to sue you as long as it's within that statute of limitations time period. So one of my last steps in how to increase your credit score is to dispute inquiries, hard inquiry. Again, the burden of proof lies on the credit bureau. And if you decide to try to dispute something that's newer than 60 days, it may be a little bit harder to dispute. Now, if it's just plain inaccurate, get it off of there, okay? And you can either do this by going online or using a specific letter. This letter can be Googled. It's a 602 inquiry letter that you can use specifically for disputing inquiries on your credit report. Normally, the credit bureau will go through public record companies in order to validate the inquiry. They don't actually go to the actual businesses. So a lot of times what people will do is they will freeze their public records through SageStream as well as Lexis Nexis. And then they will send out this 602 letter disputing the inquiries. From there, you wait for about 30 days, you say a little prayer, and you hope that they're removed and your credit score increases. Now, what you don't want to do is dispute an inquiry in which you own the credit. For example, if you just got an American Express card and you list out American Express as an invalid or inaccurate hard inquiry, let it make sense. I'm just saying. Because what can happen is that they can shut down the American Express card because you're disputing an inquiry, and if you didn't even apply for American Express, why would you have an account open? So please don't make the mistake of disputing things that are actually yours. So those are 6 ways in which I'm hoping that maybe a few of those ways can help you increase that credit score to where you need it to be. There are a couple things that I want you to keep in mind. One is that, sure, you can use a credit repair agency and they can basically do everything that I just said that you can also do yourself for free. Like I always say, be mindful and wary because there are also a lot of scammers out there. The other thing is that karma is granted, you would love to have that perfect 800 credit score, but do it in the right way because you don't want anything to come back and bite you in the butt. It is important to pay off your credit cards. If you're continuously purchasing items on your credit card, it means that you can't afford it if you can't pay it in full. That means that you're living beyond your means and you will continuously find yourself in this same place where you're struggling to increase a credit score, but in reality, it's just a matter of pulling back a little bit and not getting so comfortable with making payments rather than saving to pay things in full. I really do hope these tips help you out. I would love for you to comment below if you've ever used any of these tips or if you use them and they have helped you. Please let me know in the comment section below, as well as, you know what I always say, share this with your mama and them. If you know that they are in the need or looking to increase their credit score, share this video with them so that they can also be able to make financially healthy decisions. Okay, my beautiful people, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to come back for more and I will see you soon.